For as long as I could remember, a family scorecard hung by our front door like a corporate dashboard. At the end of the semester, my older sister Ava ranked first in her class, and Dad stuck a bright gold star beside her name. I had studied until my eyes burned. But my score still came in exactly 3 points lower than hers. Dad shook his head in disappointment, and drew a huge red mark beside my name. Mia, do you know how much money you cost this family this month? He tapped at his calculator and said in a cold, business-like tone, tutoring, supplements, private coaching. $5,000 altogether. Terrible return on investment. Starting next month, your allowance is in the negative by $2,000. You can work it off by taking over every chore in this house. Ava's eyes curved into a smile. Mia, according to the performance rules, starting today, you have to handle my laundry for a whole year. I clenched my fists, but all I could do was nod. That night, I hid in the bathroom and searched how to raise grades fast. A strange forum link flashed onto my screen. Do you want to make a trade? Give up what is yours. Receive what you desire. Tap to begin. I stared at the forum until my fingertips went cold. Give up what is mine. Receive what I desire. But what did I even have? All I had were grades that never rose high enough. All I had was a debt I could never pay off. All I had were chores that never ended. All I had was my name sitting under that cold red mark on the scorecard by the door. Maybe none of that was worth anything. Maybe none of it could buy what I wanted. After hesitating for a long time, I was about to close the page when I heard my parents talking outside. What happened to Mia this time? Why did she mess up again? Is the pressure getting to her? Mom's voice carried its usual exhaustion as she sighed. Her total score was 3 full points lower than Ava's. Her ranking dropped too. At this rate, even Westbridge Academy will be out of reach. Dad let out a low dismissive laugh. Then I heard the calculator reset with a hard click. My entire body flinched on instinct. I knew that sound too well. Dad pressed that button every time he calculated the cost of raising me. The sound had carved fear into my bones. Sure enough, his voice turned sharp with disgust. Do the math. Tutoring, private coaching, those so-called brain supplements. Which one of them doesn't cost money? We've thrown almost $5,000 at her. For what? The sound of money going down a drain? I just told her. The return on investment is frighteningly low. She's a bad investment. The fundamentals are terrible. Keep pouring money in and it still comes back as a loss. He had said things like that countless times. Still, my heart clenched so hard that the bar of soap slipped from my hand and splashed into the basin. Then should we stop her supplements next month? Mom asked, lowering her voice. I could still hear every word. Ava's grades improved after taking them, so they work for her. Mia takes them, and nothing happens. We might as well stop wasting money. Dad agreed without a second of hesitation. Stop them. Cancel the tutoring and coaching too. It's all a waste anyway. Our resources are limited. Ava is the one with potential. She's the one who can make this family proud. As for Mia, she can at least be useful around the house. A live-in housekeeper isn't bad. My heart dropped. Were my parents giving up on me? Footsteps suddenly came toward the bathroom. I fumbled to stuff my phone into the pocket of my pajamas, then plunged my hands back into the freezing water and scrubbed Ava's laundry as hard as I could. To save money, my parents never let me use hot water for laundry. My hands were covered in chilblains. Okay. Only after hearing my answer did Mom leave satisfied. I leaned against the cold tile wall and slowly slid down until I was sitting on the floor. The words they had used buzzed inside my skull. Bad investment. Waste. Mate. Was that really all I was? With shaking hands, I took out my phone and opened the form again. My finger hovered over the screen, unable to press down. The bathroom door suddenly cracked open. Ava poked her head in with a tight frown. Mia, why is it taking you so long to wash one pair of underwear? That silk pair is expensive. Don't ruin it by scrubbing too hard. I hurriedly turned off my phone screen and lowered my head. Okay. Only then did Ava slam the door and shuffle away in her slippers. The living room outside was bright and warm. Laughter drifted through the apartment again and again. Mom, Dad, and Ava were squeezed together on the couch watching a variety show. On the coffee table sat the apple slices I had just peeled for them. Holding the basin, I quietly walked around them. After hanging up the laundry, I still had to mop the floor. I wrung out the mop with all my strength. The cracked chilblains on my hands stung so badly that my vision blurred. Only when no more water dripped out did I drag the heavy mop into the living room. I had barely swiped twice when Dad frowned at me. "Mia, did you even wring that out? There are watermarks everywhere. What if your sister slips?" Mom glanced over and said coldly, "Exactly. You're always so careless." I lowered my head and carried the mop back to the laundry area. I soaked it again, then wrung it out with every bit of strength I had left. Ava looked up, annoyed. "Keep it down, okay? How am I supposed to watch TV with all that noise?" I froze where I stood and even softened my breathing. When I finally finished, I returned to my little room. Everywhere else in the apartment had heated floors except my room. Every winter, it felt like an icebox. I curled up on the bed and lit my phone screen again. The forum was still open. Against a black background, one line of white text stared back at me. "Do you want to make a trade?" Under it was a small input box, the cursor blinking. What did I still have that could be traded? If any part of me could buy even a little warmth, even a little recognition, I would hand it over. I didn't want to be useless anymore. With trembling fingers, I slowly typed into the box. "I want my parents to acknowledge me. I want to rank first, like Ava." The screen went dark. Then new words appeared. "Evaluating requests." The line pulsed for a long time without showing a result. My heart hung in midair with it. "Scanning available collateral. Trade approved." My breathing quickened. "You will receive top grades and your parents' approval." Just seeing that sentence made my eyes burn. I had dreamed of my parents' approval for so long. But then another line appeared on the forum. "Cost due, become a true academic machine. No self, no independent thought. Consideration period, 48 hours. During the trial, your senses will shut down in stages. You may cancel the trade at any time during the 48-hour window. Accept trial run?" Yes, no. I thought about it for a moment. Then I still tapped yes. The forum disappeared. The countdown had officially begun. It was late at night. Cold air slipped through the gaps around the old window. Strangely, the sharp ache from the cold began to fade from my body. At first, I did not think much of it. I assumed I had gone numb. But the next morning, while I was making breakfast for the family, hot oil from a fried egg splattered onto my hand. I hissed and pulled back. The burning pain I expected never came. There was only a dull sensation, as if the pain belonged to someone else. I stared blankly at my reddening finger. So it had already started. Panic rose in my chest. The forum said I would become an academic machine. When that happened, would I still be me? Would I still recognize Mom, Dad, and Ava? So I secretly took the allowance Grandpa had given me and slipped into a gift shop on the way home. I wanted to buy gifts for my family. When I became a machine with no feelings, at least those gifts could stay with them in my place. Maybe then they would not be too sad. I went into the shop and chose a set of family ceramic mugs. Just then, someone lightly tapped my shoulder. Mia Lawson, my desk mate Ethan Carter, stood there in a black hoodie. He scratched his hair awkwardly. "It really is you. I saw you from outside and stared for ages because I wasn't sure. Is your birthday coming up? Do you like?" Before Ethan could finish, a cold voice cut him off. "So this is why you didn't come home. Hiding here to flirt." I turned around. Ava was standing at the shop entrance holding Dad's arm. Dad stared at Ethan's hoodie, his face darkening. I knew he had already decided Ethan was some kind of delinquent just because he was not in uniform. My heart tightened. "Dad, I'm not dating anyone." I tried to hide the gift bag, but Ava snatched it from my hand. "Wow. Buying presents for your little boyfriend?" She opened the careful wrapping and sneered at the mugs. "Using our parents' money to buy gifts for a boy? Why don't you put this much effort into studying?" The ceramic mug swayed in her hand. I reached out to grab them back, but she suddenly let go. "No." The mugs crashed to the floor and shattered. "Disgraceful little thing. We're going home." Dad grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the door. "Are you that desperate? Can't live without a man? What are you standing there for? Move." "Sir. We just ran into each other by chance," Ethan tried to explain. Dad glared at him so viciously that Ethan stopped. As soon as Dad dragged me home, Ava began adding fuel to the fire in front of Mom. Mom became furious, exactly as expected. Her face twisted with disappointment. Mia, how did you turn out like this? You're already copying those kids and dating. Mom, Dad waved a hand and rubbed his brow as if exhausted. Take her into the bathroom and check whether she's still a virgin. If she isn't, we'll press charges against that boy. I froze in disbelief. Humiliation flooded me so violently that I could barely breathe. I protested with everything I had. No, I'm not going in there. I didn't do anything. You're accusing me of something I didn't do. I won't. The protest came out raw and broken. Ava and Mom could not drag me in by themselves. So Dad slapped me hard across the face, grabbed my hair, and dragged me into the bathroom. Now you know how to be scared? Where was that fear earlier? Hanging around with shady people every day, embarrassing the whole family. Do you have any self-respect at all? The bathroom door slammed shut. My clothes were stripped off almost immediately. My mother's and Ava's hands moved over me, forcing my legs apart. As if I were merchandise they were checking for damage. Humiliation almost drowned me. Tears swam in my eyes. I do not know how long it took before they finally left, tossing my clothes onto my naked body. Numbly I put them back on. My fingers missed the buttons again and again. At that moment, the phone lying beside me lit up by itself. The black form had opened automatically. Trial elapsed. 24 hours. Current sensory shutdown. 37%. Warning. Continuing will convert you into a high-efficiency academic machine. Do you wish to cancel the trade? Yes, no. My finger trembled above the screen. Terminate it? No. I could not terminate it. I wanted my parents to see me. I wanted dignity. I wanted the kind of place Ava had always been given. I was done living like something lower than a person, even if the price was no longer being myself. My finger fell. I pressed no. The screen flickered and new words surfaced. Trade continues. Final confirmation due in 24 hours. To prepare us for the selective high school admissions exams, the school kept running a 2-week intensive program, even after finals ended. Classes would continue right up until winter break. The recess bell had just rung when I held out an apology letter and slid it onto Ethan's desk. I felt guilty for dragging him into my family's disaster last time. Ethan, I'm really sorry. My family misunderstood you. Ethan looked up. There was worry in his eyes. Mia, are you okay? That day, when your dad pulled you away. Before he could finish, the back door of the classroom was shoved open. Dad had stormed in again. Mia Lawson. He roared my name and crossed the room in a few strides. I knew you wouldn't change. Is this what this prep program is for? Coming to school to date. What is this? A love letter. He tore my apology letter to shreds in seconds. Ethan shot to his feet. Sir, you're misunderstanding. We were only talking. Dad turned a cold look on him. You shut your mouth. I'm telling you right now, if I see you near my daughter again, I'll call the police and report you for harassment. The classroom fell into a dead silence. Every classmate held their breath, their faces showing shock, pity, and curiosity. I bit my lip in humiliation and forced myself to speak. Dad, this has nothing to do with Ethan. The veins at Dad's temples bulged. You still dare to argue? Getting bold now, are you? Our homeroom teacher hurried in after hearing the commotion and quickly stepped between us. Mr. Lawson, please calm down. This is a school. We can talk this through. Mia is a good kid. Her grades have always been strong. Dad gave a mocking laugh and cut her off. Miss Harris, I'm here to withdraw her from this program. A child whose mind isn't on studying will only waste money by being here. Ms. Harris's eyes filled with regret and confusion. But the entrance exam is coming soon. Stopping now. It did not matter. Dad dragged me away anyway. A deep exhaustion spread up my spine. Fine. Home it was. I did not want to struggle anymore. Soon Mia Lawson would not be here anyway. Where I studied would make no difference. Suddenly, a cold electronic voice sounded in my mind. Trial countdown complete. Please confirm whether you wish to begin the final transaction. You will become an academic machine and receive parental approval. The required price is the permanent loss of self-awareness. Please make your final confirmation. Do you wish to complete this fair trade? So 48 hours had already passed. Good. If I became a machine, I would not hurt anymore. They would be satisfied with the beautiful report cards an academic machine produced. Wasn't that enough? As for who Mia Lawson was, it did not matter. Let her disappear. I nodded and said firmly yes. The moment the word left my mouth, the world went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The constant ache in my chest vanished. The humiliation. The fear. The desperate hope that one day Dad might smile at me. Gone. A line of text appeared before my eyes. Transaction complete. Identity archived. Academic optimization system activated. Then everything faded. The next morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. No alarm. No hesitation. I sat up, opened my textbooks and began studying. For 14 hours straight. No breaks. No distractions. No emotions. When my fingers cramped, I adjusted my grip and continued. When my eyes became dry, I blinked twice and continued. When Mom called me for dinner, I calculated that eating would increase efficiency by 11.4%. So I ate. Then returned to studying. Dad watched from the doorway. For the first time in years, he looked pleased. See? He said. I knew she could do it if she stopped fooling around. The first exam results arrived 2 weeks later. Mia Lawson. Rank 1. Entire district. Not school. District. I scored perfectly in every subject. Every question. Every page. Every answer. The principal personally called my parents. Reporters wanted interviews. Elite academies began sending invitations. Dad nearly cried from happiness. He printed the results and framed them. The red mark beside my name disappeared. In its place he drew the biggest gold star on the scorecard. Bigger than Ava's. Much bigger. That night he patted my shoulder. His hand trembled. I'm proud of you. The words I had wanted my entire life. The words I used to dream about hearing. I simply nodded. Thank you. Nothing else. Because there was nobody left inside to care. At first Ava was thrilled. She bragged to everyone that her sister was a genius. Then the second exam came. I ranked first again. By a wider margin. Then the third. And the fourth. Soon people stopped introducing her as Ava Lawson. She became Mia Lawson's sister. The smile slowly disappeared from her face. Months passed. I no longer laughed. Never cried. Never watched television. Never slept more than 6 hours. Never forgot information. Never made mistakes. My scores became legendary. Teachers whispered about me. Students feared me. Universities fought over me. Dad and Mom treated me like a priceless treasure. Exactly what I had wanted. Exactly what I had traded everything for. One night, Grandpa visited. He stared at me across the dinner table for a long time. Then he quietly asked, Mia, sweetheart, what do you want for your birthday this year? I calculated the question. My birthday preferences no longer existed. After several seconds I answered, anything is acceptable. Grandpa's face went pale, because that wasn't how his granddaughter talked. The following week he came to my room. He found me studying. Of course he did. That was all I ever did. He placed an old photo album on my desk. Pictures of me. Age 6. Age 7. Age 10. Smiling. Laughing. Making ugly faces. Holding ice cream. Holding Mom's hand. Holding Dad's hand. I looked at the photos. Then returned to my textbook. Grandpa finally broke. He covered his face and started crying. Give her back. I blinked. Who? My granddaughter. The question made no sense. I was Mia Lawson. The records confirmed it. The identification documents confirmed it. The statement was factually incorrect. I returned to studying. Grandpa cried harder. That night, for the first time since the transaction, the black forum appeared again. A single notification waited. Customer satisfaction survey. Have you received what was promised? Yes. I had perfect grades. I had parental approval. I had achieved every objective. The cursor waited. Then another line appeared. Additional observation. Biological family displays increasing distress despite successful transaction. Interesting. I analyzed the statement. Mom had cried 3 times this month. Dad's blood pressure had increased. Grandpa had lost 8 pounds. Ava had started avoiding family dinners. The data was accurate. A third line appeared. Would you like to review archived memories? For the first time in many months, I hesitated. Then I selected yes. The memories flooded back. Every birthday. Every dream. Every humiliation. Every lonely night. Every desperate hope. Every time I waited for Dad to praise me. Every time I wanted Mom to hug me. Every moment I wished Ava would treat me like a sister. And suddenly, I understood. I had never wanted perfect grades. Not really. I had wanted love. The grades had only been the price of admission. The tears came before I realized I was crying. The first tears in almost a year. The system immediately flashed red. Warning. Identity restoration detected. Transaction instability, 3%, 7%, 15%. For the first time, I smiled. A real smile. Small. Shaky. Then I pressed the only button on the screen. Refund request. The forum seemed surprised. No customer had apparently ever chosen that option. The screen flickered. Then a final message appeared. Refund approved. Reason. Product performed exactly as advertised and customer discovered the wrong goal. The next morning I overslept. Missed 2 homework assignments. Burned my toast. And laughed so hard I nearly fell off my chair. Dad stared at me like he'd seen a ghost. Mom started crying. Grandpa nearly tackled me in a hug. Even Ava looked stunned. I wasn't the perfect daughter anymore. I wasn't rank 1 every time anymore. I wasn't an academic machine. But for the first time in my life, I looked at the scorecard hanging beside the front door and realized something. The problem had never been me. The problem was the scorecard. So I took it off the wall. Dad opened his mouth. Then closed it. Mom looked at the board. At me. Then quietly nodded. Together, we carried it downstairs and threw it into the apartment dumpster. The gold stars. The red marks. The rankings. The comparisons. All of it. Gone. And somehow, watching it disappear felt better than getting first place ever had.